Standing in the dark against a fellow man, but as sure as God made black and white, what's done in the dark shall be brought to the light. You can run on for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time. Sooner or later, God will cut you down. Go and tell that long-tongued liar. Go and tell that midnight rider. Tell the rambler, the gambler, the backbiter. Tell them the gods are gonna cut him down. Well, you can run on for a long time. Run on for a long time. Run on for a long time. But sooner or later, God will cut you down. Sooner or later, God will cut you down. Woo! Thank you! Let's see, what's
First off, why does traditional Southern music connect with you specifically?
That's a good question. Honestly, it has a lot to do with my family. I think about my grandpa living in the area in the 30s, and I think about the kind of stuff that would have played on the radio, and even if he wasn't really into it, or he was too young to really be conscious of it, I feel like I connect to him more through it, and he's one of my big family connections being adopted. He's like my birth grandfather, so I've always had a connection with him. And Texas, because of him, because Texas was kind of his big home, at least when he was a kid. We have like a Texas room in our house, which is really funny. It's got, it's where my brother and I would sleep when we go to the grandparents' house, and it's got like cowboy hats on the walls, and the bedposts have rope on them and stuff. Very kitschy and cute. But then the other real reason is, I think the time, from the 20s on to the early 60s, folks were writing music about what was going on in a way that hadn't really been done before, where they were using common language. It's kind of similar to when the Bible first gets translated into normal English, so that even the poor folks can understand the words instead of just the kings. So when they took it out of the sense of the classical poetry sort of thing and took it more into the folk, country, roots, blues music, all those things stemmed from people wanting to tell their stories and share stories that they heard from when they were kids and songs that they heard from when they were kids. So really it comes down to, if you want to hear the music of the people, straight up the sadness, the happiness, the joys, the heartaches, it's going to be old time music. It's going to be country music, blues music, roots music, bluegrass. And people today that reflect that sort of emotion in their stuff, I really enjoy. And it comes to hip hop's big with that too. I consider hip hop to be folk music because people who write hip hop will tell political stories about their upbringing, stories about their loves and their losses, and in a way that they can communicate right with the audience. Instead of bringing the audience, they'll bring the audience up to their level, but they won't. It's not highfalutin. The highfalutin stuff is where I think a lot of folks get lost. It makes me think about Bob Dylan, great songwriter, but writing really highfalutin lyrics that can be easily misunderstood by people that don't get it. Even the times they are changing, it's very beautiful, and it got a lot of boomers in the 60s real riled up about it, but then they still got office jobs, and they're still rich, and they still... Cicadas. Yeah, even the cicadas don't like Bob Dylan. I can't say that I don't like Bob Dylan's music, because I do. It's just my mom's generation, right? This whole generation of grown people. My mom was not a Dylan fan, so I can't blame her on this, but the whole generation of people listen to words like, "Come mothers and fathers throughout all the land, don't criticize what you don't understand. Your sons and your daughters are from your command, and your old road is rapidly aging." They hear that and they go, hell yeah, in 1963, and then in the 2000s, they see their kid wanting to dye their hair or do some funky stuff, and they're like, eh, or the kid comes out as queer, and they go, eh, or something, and they just didn't listen. So I like that some of these old folks that write these songs, people if you go way, way back, Leadbelly, Jimmy Rogers, any of the Delta blues artists or early old time artists, there's so many to name. You get into the early rock and roll stuff too, which is all black music. It's something I have to say. Like, if you like rock and roll music, it comes from black folks. Just like most good things in America, black people have a huge amount of a hand in it because they're here and they're good and they're doing good work. But early music speaks truth in a way that a lot of music today is scared to, because they weren't focusing on marketability. They had no reason to market their shit. They didn't know that was possible. I mean, the first time that this music got recorded, a guy, I can't remember his name, he was just some old white dude, went around with a record, a record machine, and just took the songs down. People had never heard it, and it's like old Appalachian folks and black Delta bluesmen. I mean, the first time we heard Muddy Waters was from a field recording in front of a cotton shotgun shack. And, that was the first time he heard his own voice on record, and he went, holy crap, I can do this as a job. And he bailed, went to Chicago. And it's, it wasn't marketed until the rich people got their hands on it and realized they could sell it back to the poor people. So then, just like they always do, they appropriate something from poor folks, and then they sell it back to poor folks. Which is why Kid Rock sucks. Because that is just what I just did, is describe Kid Rock to a T.
Amazing. So, why did you personally, or can you tell me how you chose to pursue a music career?
Well, I've been playing my whole life. About 6 years old, started learning singing and playing guitar and piano, and took accordion lessons and all sorts of stuff. My parents introduced me a lot to the Beatles and early folk artists like Simon and Garfunkel and Joni Mitchell, and just really a lot of music from the 60s and 70s, because I was there, like, rockin' young adult times, and that still is some of my favorite music. But it introduced me to the idea of weirdos and weirdos having a music career. So from an early age, I had that idea in my head, and then I wanted to be an actor. I did that for a very long time, which involved singing on stage, and that opened up opportunities for performing on stage, playing guitar in plays, and then I had to learn guitar better. So I took lessons as a kid, but I have a here's a little disability awareness thing here. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder that affects your joint and your your skin. So my fingers are all bendy and kind of messed up. So it took me years to even be able to play guitar. But if you got a disability, you can make anything happen. You can do it. Believe in yourself. There are accommodations. Make it happen. And if there aren't accommodations, yell at them until they make accommodations. But on the tangent we were on earlier, the music, I was doing it for fun for a really long time. And my brother Ryan is an unbelievable musician, and he had been being in bands since high school and had kind of made that his main focus. And I watched him do it, and I thought, I would love to do that, but I didn't really know where I fit in, because I listened to all this old folky stuff, and I listened to all this rock and roll, and I listened to like heavy metal, and I listened to blues, and it was all this different kind of stuff, and I didn't know what my genre was. And then when I knew I was going to move to Memphis, Tennessee from Sonoma County, California, I started listening to country music again, because I listened to a lot of like Western stuff when I was younger, like some of the early Buck Owens and Marty Robbins stuff, and like Ghost Riders in the Sky, because I was really into cowboys as a kid, which is great because now I'm just living my dream. But I think that also had to do with my grandpa, like I was saying earlier. He kind of influenced me, gave me a cowboy hat pretty early on and all that. But when I started listening to country music, I realized that like the things about my voice that kind of, like what I thought, I can't sing rock because I sound too old-timey, or I can't sing pop because I sound too old-timey, or I can't sing, I was stuck. I thought I was going to end up just singing like 60s rock and roll or crooner stuff, like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin stuff, because, I love that music. But then I discovered artists, I always loved Johnny Cash, but I really dove into Johnny Cash and Hank Williams and started hearing that songwriting and that like really emotional way that you could sing without it having to be perfect all the time or beautiful. And after decades of musical theater where I would wake up every morning in a panic attack trying to make sure that I had my high C that I could sing, woo, later in the show, and like, it's stressful. And now I found a genre that just fits, right? So once I found that country music fit me, I had to start recording it. And I started doing covers and stuff, and I learned really quickly that it came naturally to me to write in that style of, Hank, Jimmy Rogers, Johnny Cash, Waylon Willie, sort of. It's this specific spot, Roger Miller specifically. And I just found that it was like, I've always written lyrics, but when I decided to put it toward a specific goal of like old country and political folk music, then it was like a switch went on, and now my brain thinks like that. And once it became that easy for me to write, it was, well, I better put out an album. And then once I put out, and the entire time I was doing this, I was on TikTok making funny country content, like not necessarily thinking I'd become my own artist, more of like an internet guy that likes country music. And then pretty quickly when I noticed, when fascism started rising in America, it kind of hit me, Woody Guthrie would have said something about this, and he's dead. So someone's got to do it. Someone's got to do it. I want these words. I want people to, sing about killing Nazis again. So I started putting it out, and I found I found out about DIY music releasing and distribution services and all that, and I started jumping into it, and then pretty soon got a couple thousand TikTok followers, and people are asking, when are you coming to Texas to play? When are you coming to Oklahoma to play? And then you meet more people, you start a scene, and pretty soon it's a whole thing, and it's wild. It's a wild road. My brother, I was telling you about, he is amazed because he's been doing it the old school way, where like you just play and you play with a band and you play and you play. He's been playing the same band for years, and wondering like, where's our hoopla, And they're incredible, and they write awesome political music. They're called the Livin Band, by the way, one of my favorite California bands. They play like, it's like really hard to explain because it's very original. I mean, it's Americana in the sense that it's got that Grateful Dead sort of countrified psychedelic feeling, but it's also very Sonoma County specifically, which is like hard to describe that scene because it's Cowtown meets gentrified hipster stuff meets old winos meets millionaires. So it's a very interesting combination of a vibe, but that was a very roundabout way of saying I got inspired by my brother and some old folks from the 50s.
So, do you think it's important for music to have a message?
Yes and no.
Tell me about
I think if your music has a message, it's important, it's a good one. But I also think that frivolous music is important. Because not everybody wants to go to the club and dance to like, Nazis are bad, Nazis are bad. Although that's a banger, and I'm sure that if someone were to sample what I just said, it would become a pop hit. At Joey Helpish on TikTok would do it. We probably will, actually. But I don't think so. I think, like, if you're going to have a message, you better learn, and you better not just bullshit. But if you want to just write some fun shit that makes people want to shake ass, more power to you. And I hate people, it's mostly boomers and racists, frankly, that hate hip-hop music and dance music, and homophobes that hated disco, not even thinking it was a gay thing, but it's a fucking gay and a black thing. Disco is the perfect meaningless music. What's the meaning behind disco? Dance. Do cocaine. Make out with that hot girl. Have a fucking awesome night. We need that. You can't you have to have both. Because music isn't just propaganda. It is the most effective propaganda there is, but it is not just propaganda. So, that's how I feel on that.
Nice. And what's the message behind your music?
The message behind my music is that you ain't a redneck if you like the cops. You ain't a redneck if you're down with fascism. You ain't country if you think that poor people deserve to have everything taken from them so that rich, greedy, elite people that live in skyscrapers can put more money in their pocket. You ain't country if you're rich as fuck. And that goes across the board. If you're some, I won't say the name, but if you're some rich old country singer and you're singing about hate and singing about how you don't want to be gay or whatever, fuck you. You're full of shit. You know, people joke about country being, they don't joke. People dead seriously will look you in the eyes and say, country music is 3 chords and the truth. It's authentic. From their fucking mansions. And they got to drive a couple hours out of town to go to their little farm that their daddy bought them so they can film their little music videos with their Oakley sunglasses and their fucking Carhartt shit. I can't afford Carhartt. Carhartt is working man's clothes. Good on them for, like, you know, they produce good stuff, but I can't afford that shit. I ain't got a job. What's more fucking redneck than not wanting to work for the man at all? So you work for yourself and your fucking friends, and you work for your comrades. Message of my music is, if you're a racist, country music ain't for you. It ain't for you. It was created when white people, black people, Mexican people, people of all creeds, all religions, all races, shook hands and picked fucking banjos together. And if you don't like that, go fuck yourself. That's the message of my music. Also, Johnny Cash is awesome, and I want to fuck Hank Williams. There's the message.
And what do you feel when you're playing live?
Terror. Yeah, mad anxiety, man. I got big old anxiety. I shake. I mean, I've always felt imposter syndrome because my brother is so effortlessly awesome on the guitar, and I'm playing a different genre that he doesn't play, and he's jealous of me. But I always feel like I'm in his shadow, even though we're twins, just because he's so goddamn talented. But really, when I get into it and I'm in my vibe, it sort of feels like when you're standing on the street corner and you're yelling at that rich fuck, or when you go to Pride and you see the homophobic protesters and you don't give a fuck anymore. You don't really care if you piss them off. And if they're gonna come get you, I got a guitar in my hand. Motherfucker will hurt. If I slap you with it, it'll hurt. You might kill me, but if I die on stage yelling at a Nazi, so there's power in it. But the power doesn't come from thinking I'm better than anybody. I don't like musicians that go up there and show off. Like, I think John Mayer's talented, but sometimes he's just up there like, look how fucking awesome I am at the guitar. And in a general sense, like, that's cool, but like, I don't get power from thinking that I'm a god on stage. I get power from looking into the eyes of the audience and seeing that they needed what I was saying. Seeing somebody go, when I call Trump a Nazi, seeing a queer person hold their partner tight when I sing Thank God for Gay Cowboys. That happened the other night in San Antonio. Almost made me cry, you know? Shit like that. That's what I feel on stage. It's like a little bit of fear. I'm always a little concerned something might go down because, I mean, most punk bands kind of go through the same thing. I mean, I saw graffiti in that bathroom at Trip 6 in Houston the other night, graffiti that said, like, someone had scribbled on the wall some, you know, Antifa is the real fascists, and then it was just everybody was writing their own little "fuck you, pussy," like just roasting this guy and all. And that's the general vibe when I'm on stage. People are with it, and when they're not, they leave because, you know, they're people that need to make up some BS power structures about race and religion to make them feel better about themselves and make them feel like they're more powerful than everybody else. They do it because they're chicken shit as hell. They're scared as hell that someone's going to take their power. It's that white replacement theory bullshit that comes up every couple of years when they're like scared that there's no more white babies being made because women have autonomy and they're not being forced to be incubators anymore. So I feel powerful when I go on stage because I know them little bitches ain't gonna say shit because they're too busy getting mad and wishing that Trump would be king. So it's a complex feeling, but god damn, it's like being on drugs. I gotta have a drink after just to calm down because it, you know, it wires me up. I shake, I sweat. Y'all know what it is.
So, in the folk tradition, there's like a common thing of redoing old songs and repeating and doing covers and stuff like that, and that's very accepted. Do you think it's important for new songs to keep being created in the folk tradition?
Yes, because folk tradition is you have to know where you came from. You got to know where you're going, because you can't rest on your laurels. You can't rest on tradition. You got to build the new tradition too. You know, because there's only so many times that you can sing the same old songs before people start to kind of stop listening. So then you change the words a bit. It's what Woody did. It's what Woody Guthrie did. Half the stuff Woody Guthrie put out was old Baptist hymns that he just rewrote, made it about being against private property or escaping the Dust Bowl or escaping the fucking cicadas that are trying to eat your soul. But the new traditions I think the best ones are the ones that also they take from the old, because you don't want to forget where you came from. But at the same time, like, I see a lot of these folk punk acts out here that are really stretching the definition of folk. And even if it's not my bag all the time, I really respect it, because it can't all be flat picking. It can't all be yodeling, You gotta bring it to everyone. Folk is for the folk. So if you want to do hip hop folk, if you want to, remix, if you want to start sampling old Union hymns to make awesome hip hop songs, do it, please. If you want to sample my music, anyone wants to sample my music for anything. As long as you're not a Nazi, go for it. Go for it. I think it's important to progress and change. We're called progressives for a reason. I love old-timey stuff, not values. I love old-timey style, but it's time for new-timey too, You gotta have both.
Fantastic. And so, can you tell me why you call yourself a redneck?
Yeah, I started calling myself a redneck when people started calling me a redneck, and it happened when I started. Oh no, a bee. I started calling myself a redneck because of the folks at Blair Mountain and folks in Harlan County back in the 20s. Back when being a redneck meant something. It wasn't just a vague cultural term where you could apply it to anyone rural or anyone who wears a specific type of hat or has a mullet or whatever. Redneck used to refer to wearing red bandanas around your neck in solidarity with workers striking in Russia. Red, communism, red, that kind of red. Wear it around your neck. In Harlan County and on Blair Mountain, coal miners struck and they fought like hell to get their rights. I mean, one of the bloodiest sort of union labor fights in American history. The cops were just telling folks, shoot every redneck you see. They called them rednecks as a pejorative, Get them rednecks. They're trying to get fair wages. You better go shoot them rednecks. Shoot their kids. Maybe if we beat up their wives, they'll stop striking, Awful shit. Murder, torture, awful, horrible shit that the Pinkertons and the cops did. So I call myself a redneck in the tradition of that, which is if you're a redneck, that means you fight for labor rights and you fight for a fair wage and you fight for working conditions that don't break your body, because frankly, we didn't learn shit from the first one. You got these dumbass libertarian fucking cucks that are out here just trying to get fucked by the man. They're trying. They want it. God, they want to get fucked by the boss man so bad. They want no regulations. They want their children to go to work. They want to drink poison water, and they want to eat lead bread like we used to before folks that were called rednecks beat a cop to death with a fucking rake. That's why I call myself a redneck, because that's what it means. And if you call yourself a redneck and you're down with the cops and you're down with Nazis and you're not down for the liberation of the working class, you're not a redneck, you're a bastard.
Amazing. So what's it been like now pursuing music as a career?
It's a hustle. It's a struggle. A lot of days I'm online telling folks, hey, I don't have enough money for my air conditioning bill. Can you help out? And then sometimes they do. Sometimes the internet goes, nope. And you got to roll with it. I'm lucky. I come from, my family's, they're not rich. They're not poor. So if I was in desperate, dire needs, I could get some help from them. But like, it's not something I can rely on, just because it's hard for them too. It's hard for everybody out here. I'm not trying to take money from folks that also need money. But in a general sense, especially when you get involved in leftist politics and leftist organizing and fundraising, people want to help. Mutual aid is one of the biggest things I do, where it's like if somebody sends me, I get messages all the time, people saying, hey, I can't afford my dog's medication this month. I really need help, and I'll make a video or I'll share it on my Insta story. I'll do something. And everybody does that for everybody. Nobody needs anything. There's an old saying, I don't know who wrote it, one of them old commie guys. From each, I'm going to mess this up. I'm too stupid to remember beautiful quotes like this. But basically, in a roundabout way, saying that everybody gets what they need, everybody gives what they can. And that's a general sense how I live my life. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes we don't have power for a little bit. Sometimes we're a little hungry. Government just shut down our food stamps because my roommate got a better paying job, and now I got to figure out how to make more money to eat or apply in my own name or something, because, God forbid that we make sure that the people in this country are fed and alive. And then, of course, I'm pretty disabled as hell, so there's whole other things, insurance and all this stuff to pay for. But really, I didn't really get in this for the money. Like, I'm glad that I can make a living doing it, make just enough to get by and enough to help people, because that's what I want to do. That's what I think my favorite musicians have done. Look at Johnny Cash, made enough to make him and his family comfortable for the rest of their lives, and then gave to indigenous groups, gave to prison reform, giving wherever you can. I mean, I got a song that I haven't released yet, but I'm planning on doing it soon. It's a song from my new band, Pink Williams and the Redneck Union, called I Don't Want to Be Famous. And I got a line in there that's, I don't want to be famous, I just want to make a living. And if I make a little more, I'm going to start giving. I'll be giving to the hungry, the sick and the poor, and the folks that don't want to work no more. Because what the hell else is money for if you're not giving? And that's exactly how I feel. So if I can base my career around that, I'll be happy. Is it hard? Yes. Is it something I recommend everybody do? No. If you got to do it, do it. If you can't imagine yourself doing anything else, do it. If you can envision a life where you are doing something else, I won't say do that instead, because if you want to do music, do it. But I will say have that in your back pocket, because you really don't want to be out here on the streets with nothing. It's tough. I know folks that do it. Bless them, but damn. And if you choose to do that, they're stupid or brave or both. Good, it's a wild life, but like, it's possible. Folks are living out here, down south, it's a big hustle. There's a lot of venues. You got to drive. I don't even have a car. I don't even drive. I've been lucky enough that I got partners that love being my road manager and love helping me get to the gig. And I got a lot of friends in a lot of states. I know eventually I'll be going to some other countries. Shit, going to Canada sometime soon just to hang out with y'all, because I want to bring the music to where the people are, and the people are everywhere. That's about it.
Yeah. So, can you tell me what the number one challenge has been that you didn't expect going in?
That I didn't expect.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm gonna wait for that plane to go overhead.
Sure.
Curses. All right.
You look great, by the way.
Thank you. I would say biggest unexpected challenges have been, like, I expected some hate from the right, because since the 60s they've been convinced that country music's for them, which it ain't, never was. But to get elaborate with it, when Nixon and his fucking creepy cronies in the 60s were trying to do the whole Southern strategy thing, which involved connecting conservative values to rural living, country music was a part of that. That's how you get songs like Okie from Muskogee, which I love, ironically. The lyrics are cruel. I mean, making fun of hippies, making fun of poor people, making fun of people that smoke. Or the song Welfare Cadillac, which is a satirical song where a man portrays a poor man that abuses the welfare system to drive the brand new Cadillac every time it comes out. Like, that's fucking possible. Songs written by rural folks that don't quite get it, and it's not on them. Education is purposefully bad in rural areas, so I won't blame a country dude for writing a song that might be a little tone deaf. Won't blame him. But I will blame rich people like fucking Nixon for taking those music and trying to get folks to sing it. He tried to get Johnny to sing it at the White House. Johnny said no, wrote a song called What is Truth? When the lonely voice of youth cries, what is truth? So when I started writing country music, I knew I was fighting that. Johnny fought it. Willie fought it. All my heroes fought it. Dolly fought it. But what I wasn't really prepared for was like death threats. Because I didn't think I was a radical. I didn't think I was a revolutionary. I still don't call myself a revolutionary, because there's folks who actually do. I write songs and I raise money for some things I care about, but and I speak the truth to power or whatever. But like, it's easy to do that when you're white. All my revolutionary heroes were killed for doing it because they were black. Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, Martin Luther King Jr. So it's easy enough for me to say that shit, and easy enough for me to use that privilege to raise money to help folks. But what I didn't expect is that me doing that would lead to people giving me death threats, or saying they're gonna come kill my dog, or like naming my parents and being like, I found out where your parents live back in California, or saying, if I ever see you in real life, better watch it, your days are numbered, bitch. Or the slurs. I mean, God, I had to go into my, just having pink hair, just the fact that I got pronouns in my bio, and I'm he, him. I'm a cisgendered man. I want trans folks to feel comfortable around me, because I want them to feel comfortable, because they don't get to feel comfortable, and it sucks. So put my pronouns in there, and I'll get comments with the most horrible fucking shit. I'll get comments misgendering me, calling me a woman just cause. Even like it's the fucking 40s. Like, hey, get a haircut, you fucking lady. Like, what the fuck? And these are people that are like younger than me. Some of them are on boomers. Some of them are younger than me. Some are my age, and they're acting like it's 1950. And you're mad that your kid's got a pompadour or some shit. And it's unbe-fucking-lievable. Like, and some of these old folks that say that same shit were like jerking off to Madonna in the 80s, wearing fucking diamonds and platinum blonde hair and pointy tits and high heels and crazy shit. Or they love Prince music, or they think that Stevie Ray Vaughan is the shit, and he's got long hair and feathers braiding into his hair and fucking rings and shit, looking all girly. Or like dudes that love the Beatles, wearing like psychedelic dresses and shit. I just don't get it. But there's some folks out there real angry that there's a dude that is a dude that folks think is the new Johnny Cash. I won't say I am. I don't believe that. There's only one Johnny Cash. That man was, to me, a god. Some folks pray to Jesus. I pray to Johnny Cash. That man woke up every day and decided to be a fucking badass and to be kind when he could. Because we all know how it is when your brain won't let you be kind. And he fucking knew that. But he tried when he could. And if I can do what he did and give a little fuck you to the man every now and then and make some people in some marginalized groups in some rural areas feel seen and heard, then I'm doing it right. And plus, if the Nazis weren't mad at me for what I'm doing, then whatever I'm doing ain't doing shit.
What do you want people to feel? Learn when they listen to your music.
What do I want people to learn from my music? I want people to learn true American history, because our history books have lied to us since the beginning, because we cannot be the heroes of every single story. We cannot always be the good guys. In fact, we have almost never been the good guys in this country. Europe has almost never been the good guys. And yet we teach our children and we teach our future generations that not only have we always been the good guys, but that what we do is perfect and it is exactly how it should go, and that every other country that doesn't do it exactly like us deserves to be raided by our military and forcibly changed. I want people to learn what we did so they can reckon with it. America's got a reckoning coming. It's been coming for 400 fucking years. And we ain't never been ready to face it, and so we're gonna face it now. We're gonna face it now, or we're gonna bury this fucking country and start over, because you cannot ignore the evils of the past. You cannot pretend that because it happened when you weren't alive, it doesn't matter. Because there are people who are alive right now because of what happened, and they have to live with that generational trauma. So I want to tell the stories. Not only with my original music, telling, writing music that makes people feel seen and all that stuff. I want people to learn real American history. That's why I write talking blues songs about things that happened in the past and things that are happening right now. Because I want people to be able to say, hey, January 6th, 2000, whatever fucking year that was, it's been a blur. January 6th, I don't really remember what happened on that day. Koo-boo gloop. I want people to have a reference. Because there's too many fucking liars out there. There's too many people that are changing the story. There's too much propaganda. Propaganda isn't a bad thing. Propaganda just means media that shares an idea with the intention of teaching, spreading the idea. That's what propaganda is. What we need to do is start making propaganda not just a thing the Nazis do, because their memes and their little cringe compilations they make of liberal people saying things like we deserve to, be whoever we want to be. All that shit they do is goddamn effective. It's what the alt-right pipeline is. It's a series of dudes spewing propaganda on podcasts, leaning people towards voting for Nazis. So what do I want people to learn? I want people to learn that that shit ain't country. That shit ain't American either. Well, it is American, unfortunately. But it ain't what we should consider American values. Because we were founded, although we were founded on lies, we were founded on the beautiful lie. Sorry, capitalism was just happening in the background there. FedEx had to go deliver some shit. We were founded on the lie that America is the land of opportunity for all, and that God created us all equal, and that we are all equal under the law. All of those things should be true. They're not now. They haven't been ever since we started, because the founding fathers just accidentally forgot to include women, black people, disabled people, homosexual people, all of which was wide knowledge. We can't pretend that they didn't know queerness existed. A lot of the founding fathers were queer. Didn't hear that in the history books, did you? Song coming soon. I want people to learn, beyond the political stuff and the historical stuff, I want people to learn that it matters. All of this matters. Nihilism ain't never helped nobody. The only reason the Germans were nihilists is because if you're going through that much shit, whether it's fascism or poverty, you might start to feel like nothing matters. America can probably relate. But I'll tell Nietzsche to go fuck himself. Shit matters. Everything matters. Every individual matters. Every human being matters. Every criminals matter. Everybody matters. People you hate matter. People you love matter. People you don't know matter. People you know matter. The world matters. Feelings matter. People say facts over feelings. What the fuck does that even mean? Facts over feelings. Facts are the statistics we use to explain our feelings. Feelings are what run the world. Facts explain that. You can't have facts without feelings. You can have feelings without facts. It's called being a Nazi.
And finally, can you tell me about what your experience has been like on this tour with Walker Wild?
Oh, hell. It's been the best damn time of my life. I mean, Walker and Wild are two of the coolest folks I've ever met in my life, two of the most down for anything folks I've ever met in my life. Talking about them like I'm not sitting here with Blue Jay Walker right now.
You're out here really being like, well
I mean
he's
it.
Across the camera, I gotta be nice now.
No, I mean it. I mean, I've never felt more seen and understood. Y'all read me like a book in the first day, and you were like, we're down. Which, like, most people, if they're gonna read me that quick, they're gonna go, we should probably drop this guy off somewhere. You guys were immediately down to explore and down to do some weird shit. And down to listen, too. I mean, I love that y'all have sat and listened to me try to explain this crazy fucking country. You've listened to my buddies explain this fucking country. You've explained Canada to us and listened to our stupid-ass Yankee questions about what it's like being a hoser and all sorts of, it's lovely. It's been a cultural exchange. It's been a realization. I've been to Canada, but I didn't know just how similar it really is. Because where I was at, it was similar, but I didn't get enough of a taste. But with y'all, it's like we're just siblings. Canada, Mexico's our sibling too. Hell, every fucking country on this earth, we're all siblings. But you start to realize just how similar it is when you start going around the craziest part of the country with some folks from supposedly, Americans consider Canada to be this like perfect, Canada's America with a better PR campaign and like more polite leader at the time, but also like, let's be real, Trudeau. But we've rambled, we've sang, we've laughed, we've cried, we've shared personal traumatic stories and loves and ate some bitchin' food and danced our asses off, and you guys have somehow miraculously not looked as sweaty as me the whole time. It's been amazing. I'm amazed that I was even able to come up with that many words to describe it, because all I could really go is, wow. That's about it. Wow. Awesome. Radical.
Thanks. Well, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, I think we're good. Golden. Oh,
I think it's inside time.
Yep. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm starting to get a little pink.
It's absolutely AC time.
Yep.
I love being outside, but